Hello, folks. Welcome back to Interviews with Successful Leaders. Once again, we are privileged to have leader Troy Cowan of W.L. Gore and Associates. Troy, to get us started again, could you just give us a little brief background about what it is you lead and who you lead?
Yeah, sure. So, Dr. Broom, thanks for inviting me. Really appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with you today. My focus is on leading teams of engineers and sales individuals in the development of products that make mobile devices better. So, our focus is in the mobile electronics market, and we design, develop, and produce products that increase the capability of your mobile device.
Cool, cool. In my experience, engineers would rather just kind of work with numbers and computers and machines, build bridges maybe, but teams don't seem to be their thing. So, thoughts about that? Is that something that you have experienced?
I've lived it, yeah, being an engineer for 30 years.
Mhm.
I love the concept of being given a set of goals and then put into a nice little corner and allow me to autonomously work to develop something. Problem solving, right, is what the key focus is for engineers most times. In today's market, it's a lot more difficult to do that, though, right? We have global markets, global companies, and so there needs to be collaboration and there needs to be team uh, synergy in order for most companies to be successful. So I
Hmm.
think there's been a shift from that in the past years.
Interesting. So how did you make that shift? Because you don't play with your toys anymore. You play with people.
Yeah. I think at the core of me wanting to be an engineer was the concept of solving problems. And so I did that, first in isolation. I did that in a team setting. Um, and then what I've learned is I had a passion for working in teams and solving problems. And from that, I figured out that I had a passion for leading teams in solving problems. And so that's been sort of my journey from engineer to more of a product manager. But at the core, it's always been engineering concepts.
So how do engineering concepts apply to having a team work?
Yes. So for me, it's uh, engineering is about an equation, right? A plus B equals C. And so as an engineer, you're applying science and engineering concepts in an equation form to solve problems. Um, the concept is really the same when you're leading teams. It's just that the unknowns are much more complex, right? And it becomes even more complex as you start to now create and form teams globally. But it's still at its core, for me, solving a problem.
So so you spoke of unknowns. So people are pretty much the same everywhere. So I'm not sure that it's unknown. Is it simply the degree of variability that you have to deal with?
I think it's fascinating that you said people are the same everywhere because I rarely find any one individual that's the same as the next. And so I think there's a tremendous level of complexity in understanding how to form and generate high performing teams because everyone's got their own goals and aspirations
Mhm.
and needs. And I think as a leader, it's important to try to understand what that is and how it fits into the visionary direction that you create for your team.
I guess what I meant by people all the same everywhere is they all have goals, They all have egos. They all have emotions. They all get upset. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, I mean, that happens no matter where you are. They all have conflicts. So, yeah, no matter what company I'm in, I know I'm going to run into that bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. And I think there's a foundational tool set from a leadership perspective that could help manage those scenarios. Um, and I also think it takes an investment in time to understand the individual on your team, right? You have to understand the team as an identity, but you have to understand the individuals as as an identity as well, um, because the two have to work together, right? You can't have a strong team and you have someone that's not engaged.
Amen. Amen. So, you lead a global team. Is it different leading a global team versus leading a local team where everybody can be face to face?
Oh, I think absolutely. The you know, there's a level of comfort when you're leading a team that's comprised of people that you can touch every day, right? That have to some degree a commonality, maybe from a country perspective, from a language perspective. Um, that's a different type of leading. When you start to include individuals from different countries, different cultures, um, the leading style needs to be adjusted. And I think that's important.
So, how have you had to adjust your leading style?
Let me answer that question. I'm going to take the long way around the block and tell a little story, and it'll come back to an answer for your question.
Okay.
Okay. So, during a trip to China, I was having dinner with some of my coworkers, and um, at dinner, the associates from China were ordering food. And we were eating and talking, and then they order more food, and we're eating and talking. Um, and then they order more food, and we're eating and talking. And then I was like, man, I am really getting full. Like there's a lot of food here. But food keeps coming, right? They keep ordering. And so I'm eating and eating and eating to the point where I'm now just uncomfortable, right? And eventually this whole thing stops. Night ends. Next day, before we start our meetings, my sales counterpart says, "Hey, how'd you enjoy dinner last night?" I said, "The food was fantastic, but I have to admit, like, I think I overdid it. I think I ate too much." And they started to laugh, right? And so he starts to explain and say, we were fascinated at how much food you were able to eat last night, and we were talking about it. Um, and he said it dawned on me that we were ordering food because you kept eating, and you were eating because we kept ordering food. Now, in America, what are we taught? We're taught to clean our plates.
Amen.
All right. In China, it's very important to be a good host. And part of the definition of being a good host is having food left on the table.
Ah,
And
ah.
so for about 3 hours, this entire phenomenon went on where I was trying to clean my plate and they were trying to be a good host. And so if you think about that, Dr. Broom, it's the learning there was phenomenal, right? And we had a great conversation about cultural differences. Now, I said I would answer your question, right? That comes back to how I interact with that team is different. I know something more about their culture. I know what's important, a little bit more about what's important to them. And so as I lead, right, I also have to be a follower as well, right? Accept their hospitality, be a gracious guest, right? And from that, your team as their leader begin to create a stronger bond with you, right? And that helps to build the relationship, which in turn builds a stronger team, which in turn helps to get you to your goals.
I think one thing that you said is critically important that that is not necessary if it's a local team. And that's conversation about cultural differences.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if we're all from this country, all live in the same state, even, same city,
yeah, yeah.
same old, same old. There's no need to talk about our different cultures for the most part.
Right, absolutely. You can spend time talking about um, different upbringings, right? Well,
Yeah,
I was raised in the East, and someone else was raised in the South. There's a conversation piece there,
yeah.
but there's tremendous opportunities to learn about core values and having conversations about culture. And I think that's what comes into play when you start to form global teams.
Amen. Amen. All right. All right. So I can imagine that you don't meet with all your people face to face, that you must have virtual meetings.
Yeah, we do, and I think especially when working with teams from other countries, whether it be somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Asia, um, it's often challenging to fully understand just through written communication. Um, Verbal communication is better, and then video communication is even better, because if I am off video and coworker is off video, they don't understand something, they're often showing it on their face. But if
Mm,
I don't see it, there's no clue. Right. And so I think it's very important that even for very short conversations with coworkers in other countries, very important to have your video on, right? Because there's communication in what people can see as well.
absolutely. I do a leadership program with NASA that is virtual because their people are all across the country, not global, but certainly across the country. And one of my rules is keep your camera on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep keep your camera on. Yes.
I think it's a part of, I've um, been well versed in your concept of human systems. And I, again, as an engineer, the concept of a system is intriguing to me because it feels scientific, right? I can relate. Um, but it's a fascinating concept because teams are systems. A team itself has its own identity. As the leader, I think it's important that you help to form that identity based on the team members that you have, right? Not every team identity is going to be the same, and I think as a leader, it's important to understand what that dynamic should be.
Hmm. Hmm. So can you talk about some of the struggles that you may have had working with a virtual team?
Oh, I think communication by far is one of the biggest challenges. Um, it, it's also when you're dealing with other cultures, um, their historical way of working with a leader could be different.
Hmm.
And when you're virtual, it's even more challenging to be able to understand and overcome any challenges that may exist because of that.
Hmm.
It takes more effort, right? It takes more of an investment in time um, to get to know individuals on your team. And I think with that, building bonds with the team members, it becomes a little bit easier. It never becomes perfect, but it becomes easier.
Hmm. In this country, leaders often talk about the patterns of Asians that do not speak up enough, that don't want to give the leader bad news. Have you run into that?
I have. I like to think that I've overcome that for the most part. Um, because in leading a team, for me, the first action is to build relationships with the people on the team. You do that by investing the time, having one-on-one conversations with them, talking about before work, talking about um, you know with your their families, right? Do you have kids, or how old are they? Oh,
Sure.
that's wonderful. What hobbies do you have, right? And from that, what goals do you have, both personal and professional? Um, I think building those relationships and um, being true to your word when you talk about delivering bad news is important. So the first time that someone delivers bad news to you, your reaction is very important to how future interactions will go. Right. Um,
Okay.
and and I try to be consistent with that.
Okay. So listening to you, it sounds like doing meetings virtually isn't really all that different from doing in-person meetings.
Um, I would say that they're very similar, um, in many ways, different in the investment of time. Um, where you can have a 15 to 30-minute meeting with
Uh,
people that are next to you, and everybody's first language is the same, right? That's a certain dynamic. But
okay.
when it's different, when you start to bring in people globally, right, there's an investment in time that's needed to ensure that the meeting goal is achieved.
Okay. So I'm curious, have you learned to speak Mandarin or Cantonese, or have, or are they the ones who have learned to speak English?
That So unfortunately, I'm a typical American in that I, I know one or two words enough to get help when needed. But thankfully, again, my teammates globally often speak English, and then get back into building relationships. It's really fun to see them eager to have conversations with you because they want to practice their English.
And English is the language of business around the globe.
It's what's been established, definitely.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
super. Are there any difficulties that you are, are there any difficulties that you are still struggling with in terms of working with your global team?
I think there's always the ability to learn more, right? And I
Mhm.
think I feel as though I have a strength in working with people, learning about people. Um, there's always the challenge, especially when working globally, of creating strategic direction, and so that's a concept that I explore now, right? Because it's one thing to lead a project that has a horizon, an end goal. It's another thing to uh, influence someone to believe in a strategy that's multiple years out,
Mhm.
right? And be passionate about the direction.
Mhm.
I think it's a different conversation. It's a different level of trust. And so those are some of the things that I am conscious of today and try to increase in my ability to do that.
Okay, but what I'm hearing basically is whether you're leading locally, whether you're leading globally, getting to know your people, understanding teams, that is true no matter where you are.
Yeah, and supporting their passionate goals,
Yes,
I
yes.
think is very important. Absolutely. Yeah, that is a recipe that is universal. Um, and again, I think it just takes different forms depending on the team dynamic
and patience,
and patience.
because you
Absolutely.
don't get to know people right away, right there. And if they're from a different culture, it may even take a while longer. But
Absolutely.
simply to be patient, get to know your people. How do you translate the getting to know your people into them working together as a team? Here are Asians, here are Americans. They're both on your team. Have there been struggles across that that you have had to manage?
Yeah, I think it's a part of being a leader. It's very important that I spoke a lot about focusing on me building a relationship with the individuals on my team. It's just as important for me to help them build relationships with each other, right? I should not be the vessel all the time. I should create the ability for them to, without me, work together. And so I think it's very important that, as a leader, I am consciously trying to identify opportunities in which I can bring the team members together themselves.
Mhm, mhm. So now we've got two parts: getting to know your people and helping your people getting to know each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you say more about how you do that second one?
So I think, again, for me, part of it is understanding what the individual's passions are. Because if I know that, when opportunities come, I can say, "Hey, Michael, I'm going to connect you with this other person over here because
Mhm.
the two of you have something in common, right? Or he's passionate about something that complements what you're passionate about. Let me make this introduction." Or can you work directly? Here's an opportunity, a development opportunity. Can you work with these two or three people to manage this aspect of a project or an action that we're pursuing?
Mhm.
I think it's helpful and important for me to try to create those types of scenarios. But that happens by me understanding my team.
Yeah. One of the things I've helped leaders do is to push them to have their teams make decisions and work through their conflicts,
Yeah.
so, so that it becomes a team decision, not a leader decision. Is that something that you do as well?
I do. I think that you know there is a threshold, right? And um, up above the threshold, I should be included, right? I should be aware of that and be involved in the discussion. But below that threshold, there should be a level of freedom that the team has. Um, and I try to ensure in my team that the decision that you make, if it's right, great. If it's not the right decision, then let's talk about how to correct it. But you should you you should have the opportunity to fail, right? We should be learning how to fail because it helps us get better. And so I really push my team to the approach that I really enjoy is a team member coming to me saying, "Hey Troy, here's a scenario. Here are the two or three options. This is the option that I'm going to pursue first. If you have other thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, this is the direction." But that's I love that. Um, but sometimes it's, "Hey Troy, here's a problem. What do you want to do?" Right, and you have to manage those as well. And then
Okay.
oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm hearing you wanting team members to make decisions, but how about the team making decisions together?
Oh, I think that comes with people building their confidence in making decisions individually and then also collectively. right? As I
Okay.
spoke before, connecting team members together, that hopefully empowers them to make decisions collectively,
Hmm.
right? And so I don't need to be involved. I just would love to hear the result. Um, so yeah, to your point, I think that there is to some degree you have to be able to step away, right, and give room for that level of freedom with the
Hmm.
team.
Hmm. Do you ever have team meetings where the team working with you decides on what are the basic tactics and strategies we're going to use to accomplish X goal? Is that something that you do?
If I'm doing a good job as a leader, I've already established the visionary direction, and so that is typically how our team meetings work,
Okay. Okay.
right? And it's for the most part, me not making decision, me aligning with the decision that's been made.
Cool. Cool. Very good. Well, just to summarize, actually I've already done it in a sense, but just to do it one more time, that the working with global teams, the only difference that is from working with local teams is having the patience to get to know the the differences of different cultures and getting to know the different individuals and how they fit together
Hmm.
as a team and having the patience to do that.
Hmm. Yes, and making the investment to understand that human system, what that looks like. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really the same whether it's global or local.
Yes, I think so at its core.
I appreciate your wisdom.
Yeah.
Had a final thought for us?
Yeah, again, I thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to have this conversation with you. I always learn something when we talk.
What did
Um,
you learn this time?
it repeating my own concepts is more like it's like an affirmation,
Yes,
right? Maybe I should do it a little more often. That's the lesson for today.
we can do that for sure. All right. You take care. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
See, see you next time.